What is up, everybody? I am Hoops and Hip Hop, and welcome back to another episode of the Pokeblock Podcast. This is an especially special one today because the day that this is going up on Friday is also essentially the release of the Crown Tundra for Sword and Shield because it dropped on Thursday or Friday, depending on where you are in the world. So hopefully a lot of you are enjoying that and are playing that. In addition, we've also got a really juicy type of conversation, so maybe you can listen while you're playing or something like that. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Crown Tundra, and also we're going to be talking about something that literally just happened moments before we started recording this podcast, which is apparently, supposedly, the beta of Pokemon Sword and Shield leaked. So I'm going to be discussing that with my guest today a little later on in the podcast. And speaking of my guest, I have brought on none other than Mr. HybridHero. What is going on, man? Thank you for coming on.
Hey, what's going on, guys? HybridHero here. Thanks for having me, Hoops. This is the first time I'm being featured in something since I came back after my 1-year hiatus, so it's nice to be welcomed.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, as always with all my guests, you can check Hybrid stuff out with the links in the description. He'll be there. If you haven't heard of him before, or you're just, I guess, I don't know. If you haven't heard his or seen his stuff, check him out because he does great work.
Hey,
he's got my endorsement.
Yeah, you shouted me out many times than I can remember, so they must know me somehow.
Yeah, I mean, we've worked a lot together, so
yeah.
I feel like the people should know. But with that being said, we might as well go ahead and get started. Like I said, we're going to start in with the Crown Tundra stuff and just get a little mini discussion going on that before we lead into the beta stuff. Before we do that, though, I do need to thank the sponsors of the podcast, as always, because they help it be an actual thing. So with that being said, today's episode is brought to you by the Tax Defense Group. The team of professionals at the Tax Defense Group are passionate about helping taxpayers resolve their tax debt. Their services include basic tax preparation, tax audit, resolving large tax debt, and more. They actively represent taxpayers throughout the entire USA, so if you need help resolving your tax issues, contact the Tax Defense Group. You can call them at 800-850-7973 to get started. That number is 800-850-7973, and you can visit them online at thetaxdefensegroup.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Junkie. Are you thinking about starting a business or a side hustle? For all businesses to be successful, you need a website. Junkie offers website development, content writing, and SEO services for business websites, so go ahead and give Junkie a call today at 805-587-7966, and you can visit them online at riderjunkie.com. You can also check out our brand new website at ucaststudios.com, which will be in the description as well. Okay, so now that we've got our sponsorship spiel out of the way, Crown Tundra, this is sort of going to be an interesting conversation, just due to the timing of it all, because for those listening, we are recording this ahead of the release of the Crown Tundra, but just due to the way the calendar decided to work, this is going to go up basically after it is launched.
So right before the Crown Tundra drops.
Yeah, so it's
24 hours.
Yeah, so it's hard to be as I guess in the know as I would want to be for this going live on that day. But given that, I mean, it is coming out on the same day as this is going up, I feel like we needed to talk about it at least a little bit. So that's what we're going to do. I personally have avoided the leaks and the spoilers as much as I could, because I mean, they were sort of there months and months ago with the Pokedex for it got leaked, but then just a couple days ago the whole thing pretty much got leaked, because that's the world we live in, basically, where Pokemon games get leaked and it's all out there before it even comes out. So I'm going to keep this as spoiler free as possible, but I know you know of some stuff. So
I know everything. I didn't.
Yeah, you know everything because you don't care. You don't care. You're just give it to me.
Yeah. So I didn't hold back, but I will say, as someone who did read the spoilers, there's not much new information that was leaked compared to what we knew 5 months ago. So
that's good to know. That's good to know. But also, I guess, because because I don't really know much about what was leaked 5 months ago either. Like, I know the Pokedex was leaked.
Right.
And ironically enough, pretty much everything I know is because of you.
Because of that video.
Because you made a video and I started watching it and you started like mentioning stuff and I was like, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to hear this. And so I sort of like tried to watch as long as I could because I didn't want to like click off the video. And so I like picked through it a little bit and I did hear some stuff, but not like terrible. So like I still feel pretty like safe.
Right.
But yeah, so with all that being said, I guess my like first lead off question that I wanted to ask you is like, I guess, how are you feeling about the Crown Tundra going into it now that it's like almost in our hands as of this recording?
So, what I'll tell you is, I just recently played through Sword and Shield, right? For those that are listening, I didn't get a chance to play Sword and Shield until half a year or so after they came out. So I just recently played them, and I've yet to. All I did was beat the game and the post game. I've yet to play the Isle of Armor, and I am planning to play it tomorrow in hopes to get into the Crown Tundra. But at the same time, I won't be that disappointed if I don't get to play, because I don't think this is gonna be that big of a deal, to be honest with you. The way it's looking, the way it's being advertised, the Crown Tundra seems to be DLC. Like, it seems to be like a testing grounds in my eyes. That's what it seems like for Gen 9. And I know many people have said this because they're trying to go with this more of an open world. They're trying to like get the, what's it called, like the free movement, like they're trying to be like the wild area, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They're trying to become like the wild area, like, but for the entire game. So that aspect's nice, but I've always felt like that should have been something within Gen 8 itself. And besides that, the only real thing that they have to capture or get people to buy the games is the whole push of legendary Pokemon. That's nice and all, the fact that they're bringing back legendaries and that they have new legendaries, but my whole thing is, where's the story, man? Where's the story? Where's Gen 8?
Right.
Gen 8 didn't have much of a story. And what I liked about Sword and Shield was the whole gym mechanic, the whole atmosphere and everything that had about gym. Obviously with the DLC, that's not there. So there's nothing really to capture me as such, because no story, no gyms. I don't know. I'm not about it, to be honest with you.
Okay, well, I mean, from a story perspective, I think there is going to be stuff to enjoy with the Crown Tundra specifically, because as far as like the legendaries that they're bringing back, I mean, those are just going to be thrown in. They might have some weird like explanation as to why they're all randomly underground, but it's basically just going to be a gameplay mechanic. Sure. But as far as the Galarian, or I mean, I guess you could say like the Galarian legendary birds and all the new legendaries, it seems pretty promising that there is going to be a lot of story there in terms of just like, just making it a little more beefy and whatnot. So, I'm personally really looking forward to that a lot, as I've said before. And it seems like, I mean, once again, I've avoided as many additional details as I possibly can. But based on just what I've sort of heard, it seems like it's kind of shaping up in the direction I want it to. This, what I'm about to say right now, technically isn't a spoiler because it came from an official source, but it is sort of, I guess, a minor detail about the Crown Tundra. So if you don't want to know anything, I guess you could just like skip ahead a couple seconds, but this really isn't big even by my standards. So just know you're pretty much going to be safe with what I'm about to say. With that being said though, don't you love like spoiler season, by the way, when you have to give those big spoiler warnings or everyone will flame you, dude, if they feel like they got spoiled?
Yeah, like it's, oh man, it's a mess.
Yeah. But anyway, I've learned my lesson, that's for sure. But anyway, so it came from an official, like, video game publication that was able to do a preview of the Crown Tundra, and they specified a detail that the Galarian legendary birds are going to have to be tracked down and found in the wild, essentially a lot like roaming legendaries, which is something you brought up in one of your videos.
Yeah.
You were speculating about that, and that I hadn't thought of that, and so I was like, ooh, yeah, if that could happen, that would be dope. Yeah, it came, I read it, it was from some video game publication that got a preview of it.
So I'll tell you, as far as the leaks go, we don't even know if they're roaming or not. Like, that hasn't.
All of what I read said that there's going to be something that happens with the legendary birds, and then they're going to like basically fly off onto their own separate areas of the map, and you're gonna have to go find them.
Okay,
that's what I read.
There are a few rumors talking about that, but those are all like 4chan leaks, nothing like nothing significant or so. But as far as leaks go, even I'm not aware of this. So
yeah, it's just so it really is super hard to keep up with everything that's going on.
Yeah,
that's why, like, as far as like being a YouTuber goes, we were talking about this before we started the show. New Pokemon games are both equally exciting and stressful, because it's like you feel like you have to be on top of everything, but it's impossible at the same time.
Always.
But with that being said, like, that was a super. I felt super good about hearing that, just because. I don't know. I very much get a sense with the Crown Tundra that they're sort of making a lot of moves that they're kind of like making the sort of like home run type of moves that people have wanted them to make, with like adding new Reggies and sort of, I mean, it seems like being more story focused and doing something crazy like having Galarian legendaries or regional variant legendaries. So, I mean, this is a little bit in the past. I guess I'll know in a couple days when we actually play it for ourselves. But I'm feeling pretty good.
Right. And I agree with you with most of the things. But and it's not that I think it's gonna be bad per se. It's just that I think it's like a stepping stone. It's still not. I feel like all of Gen 8 is just a stepping stone. It's not I don't know what to say. I feel like it's a test grounds. You know, that's essentially what I feel like it is. Sorry, continue.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, like, if you played the Isle of Armor, for instance, you could totally tell it was like a stepping stone towards what's next.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and so I definitely feel that way too, which is obviously encouraging, especially because, like, I mean, I personally really liked Sword and Shield. I really didn't have too many negative things to say about it, but obviously a lot of people did. So
they always have something negative to say, man. Come on.
I mean, I could critique it for sure, but like I guess I'm the type of person that sort of I'm not like, you do not have to like give me the greatest game of all time for me to be like, yeah, this is cool. Like I mean, I wouldn't say my standards are low, but I just kind of take things for what they are, and I'm not. I didn't go into Sword and Shield expecting
be the best
Breath
game
of the
ever.
Wild, for instance. Fair. You know, I just took it for what it was worth, and I enjoyed it. So, and I guess I'm not easily like perturbed by certain things like the deck's cut, for instance. I'm pretty easygoing.
Me as well. I thought the games were very charming. I definitely like them. Like they're definitely, experience was really fun in my opinion. If you just like took away, if you just didn't think about those things, if you did, and besides the national decks and everything, like most people,
if you didn't play the whole game being like, oh, this is so dumb, where's my starter Pokemon, where are all my Pokemon that I love, like, if you didn't go into it like that, then you probably would have liked it, because I mean, there's a lot of things to love about it.
The gym battles especially, that's what got me. The way the gym battles are, like how the music changes and everything throughout the battle, it's so, I want to say immersive. It feels like you're in an actual stadium. Can't believe talking about base game Sword and Shield, but like, you know, it was a nice change of pace, I would say.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I was actually thinking about this a couple days ago, because it had sort of been on my mind for a while, but I honestly feel like Sword and Shield has the best soundtrack.
I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't disagree at all. It's either that or I would say maybe X and Y. In my
because there are just so many tracks that I'm just like banger.
Dude, that's
banger.
one thing I'm so excited about. No leak will come out till day up about like Crown Tundra music tracks. I'm so excited. I want to go into that fresh.
Right.
I want to hear all the Galarian bird theme, the Reggie theme, all fresh.
Ooh, yeah, that's one thing that is like basically impossible, I feel like, to leak, or either that or no one like pays attention to it.
Yeah.
So it never does get leaked.
But still,
speaking of just Sword and Shield as a whole game, I guess now would be a good time to transition into this other major leak that is supposedly real. I say supposedly with emphasis because I mean it there's a good chance it's real, but I don't want to make you guys think for sure that it's real, so just take it with a grain of salt as we talk about it. But apparently, like literally within the past hour or two since before we started recording this, the beta of Sword and Shield has supposedly leaked somehow, some way. I have no idea how that would even happen, but it's starting to flood Twitter, and it's pretty dang interesting. Tell me some of the things that you've seen and noticed that you thought were interesting about it.
So wait, bro, like as you're saying like it's flooding Twitter, it's still flooding Twitter. I just pulled it up. There's still new images coming up and everything. So the first image to really strike everyone was the title screen, which I know you have a lot of things to say about the title screen, the logo at least. They have for those of you that are listening, they have just a Nintendo Switch handheld mode with the Pokemon Sword title screen and like a stadium. But the striking thing about it is the logo is very different for one. The graphics are also very different, and they have Pokemon. I'll tell you which Pokemon they have on the screen. They have Greninja, Blastoise, Mega Rayquaza, Bruxish, Pidgeot, Arceus, Pikachu, Vanillux, Sawsbuck, Meowstic, and Moltres. I think most of these Pokemon you can't get in base game Sword and Shield, and Mega Rayquaza, that's a Mega Pokemon, so people are all like, what's going on? What happened to our Megas? Were they supposed to be in the game? What's happening? And it's causing a huge ruckus.
Right. And for anyone listening who wants to like look at this stuff for yourself, it's being sort of leaked by the Twitter account Centro Pokemon Leaks, and so you can look them up at Centro Leaks if you want to. But yeah, speaking of that title screen you mentioned, and the logo, this is something you guys are gonna have to go on to Twitter to look at yourself just to get the whole picture, because I won't have it on screen unfortunately. But this logo looks, in my opinion, looks very like fan made. Like it looks like it was a fake leak type of thing, and as you said, there seems to be somewhat of an overall like positive response. I mean, it's people aren't saying it's the coolest thing ever, but there are several people in the replies that are like, that's a cool logo, or that's better than the final logo, or whatever. And it, like, please go look at it for yourself, because I don't understand how people can be accepting of something like that, but then come back and say Sword and Shield are bad games. That just tells me that I need to get off the internet for a while and calm down before I say something that I shouldn't.
I think the text is terrible, but I don't think the sword image itself is that bad. That's my personal opinion, but
I would say it's not bad, but it also looks like stock.
Of
like,
course,
it doesn't.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, which I guess makes sense for the beta, but it just looks really, really like if someone was gonna make a fake leak, this is what the logo for that fake leak would look like.
For sure. Like I definitely agree with you. It does look fan made. It does look fan made.
Yeah.
I still like the art, but it looks fan made.
It's really weird now that we're talking about it, why that they would even have a beta logo in the first place. Like, I can get if they sort of like refined the logo over time, but it's not like it takes a long time to make a clean logo. Because there are a million people that I've worked with personally for YouTube that can make a super clean logo in like less than a day.
Right.
So it's like, why are they like wasting their time with these weird fan-made looking logos?
I see, like, if you look at the logo itself, it's pretty different actually. Like, you see the sword, it has like a dent or like a curve in it. So I don't like, maybe they had different plans with Zacian and Zamazenta, or like their designs or something in the first place. And even looking at this now, if we're to go off the assumption that like Game Freak really didn't know what they were doing from transitioning from the 3DS to the Switch, like the Switch logo is vertical, right? This is horizontal. This reminds me of the 3DS logos. So I feel like they were kind of like they had the like past impressions and everything, and they went with this, and then eventually they realized, oh snap, can't do this, and they cleaned it up. But I get what you're saying. Like you can make a clean logo in like a day and just change it later.
Yeah. But with that being said, you also brought up the fact that there were some Pokemon in the title screen, once again, supposedly, assuming this is real, that weren't in the actual game. Like there was Greninja and Mega Rayquaza, and it sort of like gave me the impression of sort of like almost like a Smash Ultimate type of vibe, where it's like everyone is here because they were all in the stadium just like lined up together.
Right.
And so that, like you said, that obviously raises some red flags of like, okay, why are they here? Like, were they going to be in the game originally and then it was cut halfway through? A lot of people are saying that this is possibly evidence of like the rush job that had to happen because they had like the 3-year deadline, because typically Pokemon games come out every 3 years. And if you haven't heard this discussion before, it's been relayed a lot in the Sword and Shield era. But basically the Pokemon Company have got a lot of things that follow that schedule, and the games are the engine that carries the whole train essentially. So they have to be out for everything else to go. So there's a lot riding on it. So the theory is that these games, being Switch games, were like going to have all the bells and whistles, but they had to get it out in 3 years, and so to do that, because they're more intensive HD titles, they had to strip some things and like cut some corners and whatnot. And assuming this is real, this could be some further evidence of that. Once again, go look at go check out the Centro Pokemon Leaks Twitter page if you want to like actually see these images for yourself, so just to get some context.
One thing I just want to say, the title screen image is apparently like a drawn image just as a placeholder. Like you can find this on the Central Pokemon Leaks Twitter itself, and then it seems they only had 21 Pokemon in the beta, and the names are in Japanese, so I can't really tell, but it's like Charizard, Blastoise, Spearow, Pidgeot. There's only 21 Pokemon. They had those 21 Pokemon in there, so not every Pokemon was actually confirmed, but judging by the picture, you see this picture and you immediately think, what happened, man? So I get everyone's right. I get why everyone's like kind of like furious or like confused or whatever, but who knows? They might have just had these 21 to test it out, and then maybe they always had a plan to like not have every Pokemon in there. We can't say for sure because it's all new stuff that's coming up.
Right, and it seems like it definitely seems, just based on like the limited amount of stuff that seems to be included, that this was very much just sort of and it even like one of the original pictures of like the title screen says it's like in debug mode, or it's like debug menu or whatever. So it very much just seems like maybe they were testing out environments and just basically getting all the basic just programming and like interactions between everything smoothed, and these were like these Pokemon or whatever were just thrown in to do that. Right. So in that sense, maybe it's not like necessarily evidence of the Pokemon not being cut originally. I mean, who's like, it's still anyone's guess at this point.
Yeah.
But another thing that was basically the other most interesting thing that I took away from this is that supposedly, according to all of this stuff, the full 3D camera control was originally in the entire game, as opposed to just the wild area. So that's another interesting thing.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that. I didn't even connect the dots. Like we were just talking about that too, and I'm like, yeah, it was there.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, it's another it's sort of just another evidence. I mean, it could be construed as more evidence of them having to sort of trim things down to meet a deadline.
You know what's...
we don't know if that's really the case, but...
You know what's funny about the whole deadline thing? So, you're going to have to, like... I'm not sure, so you're going to have to help me out here, but they said they were making Sword and Shield in, what, 2016? Like, when did they start development for Sword and Shield?
No, it was... The first time they mentioned it was... 2018 when they revealed Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, because they revealed that, and then at the same time they were like, just so you guys know, we're also working on a mainline game. So no one freaked out and be like, oh, they changed the games, this is terrible, you know?
Dude, this makes so much sense. You know why? Okay, so apparently this debug is made in this whole thing was a 2018 beta, and the basis for this beta is Let's Go. They have menus in Sword and Shield that resemble Let's Go, and they even have leftover files from Let's Go in this beta. So they use Let's Go as a basis for the entire thing, it seems.
Right. So, but getting back to that whole camera control thing, that is definitely an interesting take, because obviously, like, the way Galar as a region was made was you had the wild area in the middle, but then you had like routes and towns that are more standard to Pokemon sort of surrounding it. And while everyone obviously wants that full camera control just because it kind of gives Pokemon a sense of, it would give Pokemon like a sense of progression. Like it's something you can see in the expansions, for instance, where when you have, like, in those areas you have camera control throughout the whole thing, and it just feels like it's like the next level up, so to speak. So it was sort of frustrating to not have it there, especially when you got a taste of it in the wild area. But also thinking about it, it's like they would, like, with the way the region was made up, it would definitely be a little bit harder to have that camera control in the routes unless they sort of revamped like the whole camera system entirely to where it was like behind the player, like it is in the wild area, as opposed to like the routes being pretty linear. So that could have affected like the way the region was constructed too. So I honestly like sort of feel like it's more than it has to do with more than just, oh, we wanted to include this but we didn't. I kind of feel like there's other like mechanical things that sort of could have played a factor in them cutting it or not having it or whatever.
Yeah, that's possible. I think the main thing is that if it does boil down to a mechanical thing, I think the main argument would be, you know, Pokemon's a multi-billion-dollar company, one of the biggest in the world, and with the kind of games we receive nowadays, Breath of the Wild aside, like even like I don't know what to tell you, like Mario or even this any other RPG, I guess. Mario's not RPG, but any other like Switch game. There are these like, you know, camera controls, and there are many functions in the game that we don't get in, that are in so many other games that we don't get in Pokemon. So it's just like if a company as big as Pokemon can't do this, like, what does it boil down to really? Like it can't be money or anything, because you guys have it. So what is it?
Yeah, right. That's 100% true. If I had to take a stab at why that is, I think it has to do with them being on handheld systems for so long, and the fact that they were able to completely scot-free get away with being pixel-based until 2013, which in video game terms is pretty late. That's pretty like behind the times, but at the same time it wasn't, because they were on a handheld and the pixels just worked. They were fine. No one was complaining about them, and no one is complaining about them even still to this day. Like they're fine. So, but then like obviously the time came to eventually go 3D, and for like as far as like Sun and Moon and X and Y and those 3D games on the 3DS, they essentially did their job, because even on the 3DS where everything was like pretty much good 3D, like it didn't have to be like full on just like console level, because that just wasn't the standard for the 3DS. And then they even, honestly, I feel like with Sun and Moon, they went above and beyond what they had to do, making the models full scale and like making all the proportions of the characters correct and everything. They like pushed that to the limit, so they did a really good job there. But then obviously with the jump to the Switch, that's like almost like jumping the Grand Canyon on a motorcycle in terms of like the leap that they had to take. And I feel like that leap caused everything to catch up with them like much more quickly than they were prepared for, which has just resulted in a lot of the backlash.
Yeah, that could be true. And that comes down again to what you were saying, right? About like, or what you were saying, I guess, about every 3 years you need a new generation of Pokemon. It's like, if they took a bit longer, I feel like the games would have had much more time to adjust and transition into the home consoles. But I guess for business sake, they didn't. But it's I just want to like mention this to you. I read a tweet, right, recently, and it was like, they were kind of criticizing Sword and Shield, of course, but what they were saying was, if you take Red and Blue, for example, those games feel, despite how simple they feel like a massive world, just because of how big they are compared to the games of that generation. That, like, even though the routes are so linear and everything, it still feels massive. And they've kind of kept that formula up, and it was still going great, I would say, until maybe X and Y-ish. They kept that formula up, and they haven't really changed much, whereas every other company has been changing everything. And that's why it feels as if they're archaic, like they're behind on the times. And I just read this is what the tweet's saying. They're saying that they're behind on the times without realizing it, because they feel as if they can just copy and paste the same formula and it'll work. But it's not the case anymore, just because everyone's amped it up. So yeah.
Well, I would disagree in the sense that they feel like they can just copy and paste. I don't think, like, I absolutely don't believe the sense that like Game Freak is lazy or Game Freak is like just they don't want to do the work. Like, I don't believe that for a second, because you don't make some of the best games of all time for 20 years in a row and then all of a sudden just become lazy, especially when you have all of the same people in-house. That just doesn't happen, I guarantee you. Nice. So that is not the issue as far as I'm concerned. Right. Like I said, I just think it's a matter of
time.
A little bit of shell shocking, like they might have been a little shell shocked by the leap. Yeah. It also caught up to them, like I said, that just they sort of I mean, for 20 years worth of making games where you have this system and it's just working so just beautifully for you. It's obviously easy to sort of like get in a routine with that. Yeah. And then like the Switch is, I mean, it's literally the first home console that Game Freak has ever put a Pokemon game on. So I mean, and not to like make a excuse for them or anything, but that's gonna take some getting used to. And if you're not prepared for it, it's gonna hit you like a truck. Yeah. So, and I don't think they were necessarily prepared for it as much as they should have been. Definitely. But with that said, we might as well just like, I guess, cover some of the other specific details about this beta, just so people who want to know like specifically what's going on, they can be aware. Once again, check out the Twitter if you want to see like images and stuff. But yeah, so there were apparently, it was a lot of just like we said, testing beta environments and just kind of having characters move around and battle and stuff. There were also some beta like YCOM images for the communication feature, and my boy Cyndaquil is one of them.
Cyndaquil was supposed to be in the game pre-Cyndaquil.
He's literally the first one, and it's just like,
Squirtle's right there, bro. Squirtle's right beside Cyndaquil, man. He's in the game now, but you know, it took him a while.
So that's kind of sad if true. Like you said, another notable thing is that it has essentially the same menu system for the Pokemon as Let's Go did. Yeah. Because seems to be based on Let's Go. There were also several Pokemon in the game in this beta that were cut. Like there's actually I'm totally spacing its name.
Furfrou.
No, there's Furfrou or Furfrou. There's Auroras, which Auroras is coming in the Crown Tundra. And then there's the Ultra Beast. Stakataka, yeah. Everyone, okay, on this podcast, I will like try and say a Pokemon's name, and it doesn't happen too often, but sometimes it takes me a bit, and I feel terrible about it. But then I'm like, there's 900 Pokemon.
Bro. Yeah, you don't have to worry.
I'll cut myself some slack.
If you look at the files where it says only 21 Pokemon were included, if you look at the files, Stakataka is called Table, so you don't have to feel bad about yourself. I don't think they know either.
Right. They're just like the table thing.
Yeah,
like,
the table.
Whatever. Yeah. Right. And then there's the big thing. The other big thing is the title screen, which, like you said, has Greninja and Mega Rayquaza.
That's probably the biggest thing. Everything else is pretty much just like debug stuff, and there's not much. It's just cool to look at. And it'll give you a glimpse of what the game was like in its early stages, but the title screen is pretty much the biggest thing. You saw, like, there's also some Pokemon interactions and all. You see Beedrill near Hop's house, just chilling by the grass. So there seems to be a few Pokemon interactions we never got, but
right.
Yeah. Besides that,
but nothing like giant. That's kind of what I've taken away from this. Is it's sort of like, assuming once again it's real, it shows you like a super interesting just like stage of the game's progression, but there isn't any like evidence of just some massive cut feature or cut Pokemon or anything like that we've seen with past leaks. Although, like I said, if you take that title screen at face value, not only does it show that like there were some Pokemon that were going to be in the game that got cut, it also shows Mega Evolution in the game with Mega Rayquaza. So, I mean, who knows what that could be, because like you said, a lot of this stuff is just placeholder. So they could have just thrown that together purposely for placeholder, because this was never supposed to come to the public eye. No. This was supposed to all be internal. So if they threw some Pokemon on there that they knew weren't going to get cut, or they knew were going to get cut, it wouldn't matter, because that was never going to leave Game Freak's offices anyway. So it didn't like... They
should just stop taking risks with this, man. Everything gets leaked nowadays, so they should just do nothing risky.
I think a lot of, Nintendo and Game Freak specifically, they're not really like, they're different companies, but they act very much the same way in terms of being very like stingy with this type of stuff as opposed to embracing it. Because like if they embraced not people leaking their games without permission, because they have a right to be upset about that.
Of course.
Obviously, but if they sort of just embrace the fact that people want to see cool beta content and just like let it hang out there a little more freely, then it would like make them, so it would just give them such a much more like cool image just in the eyes of the public, and it would create a bunch of like awesome free publicity essentially.
I agree with that, but I think the reason why they're like holding back from that is because, like, take SWSH for example, right? That's something they didn't use for like 20 years, and all of a sudden it came back. So I think they're just afraid of they just want to like have it in the back in case they can reuse it and stuff, is what I would feel.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like, if they did embrace it a little bit more, it would just be like, wow, this company is like, they're vibing with us. They're vibing with us. It would work.
Exactly. And it's like, that's like such a big deal in the social media age. So
yeah.
But I don't blame them keeping things like close to the chest either. It's just like, I feel like they could meet in the middle a little more.
For sure. I think that's what everyone wants, to be honest. Like, I think that's the whole the friction between the community and them. It's just that somewhere somewhere at least the fans feel as if we're not meeting in the middle, but we'll see. Yeah. I hope they take steps towards it. Hey, one thing I want to point out quickly. What do you think the audience is thinking about Arceus just chilling in the stadium? Like, God is right there, bro.
Is he in there? I didn't even notice.
No, Arceus is just chilling.
Oh, he is there. See, that's another, I mean, like, yeah, that's pretty crazy, but like that's another thing that sort of tells me that this was never supposed to like be considered a real thing, because they're not going to put Arceus just casually in the title screen of a Pokemon game that isn't Diamond and Pearl related, I guess.
Yeah, even
and
in Diamond
just
and Pearl.
have it be no big deal. Like that's not a thing that would actually happen.
Right.
So either I guess it's sort of unlikely at this point, because it seems pretty real that, or this seems like it's actually a thing. So you could either say this is fake and someone just made that, or Game Freak was just having fun with their stand-in title screen and just threw him in there for the heck of it.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but I think that's it for this leak.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I think that about wraps up all of our time too. So we will leave it off there. Once again, if you want to go check out this stuff, you can go to the Centro Pokemon Leaks Twitter page. They're probably going to have more stuff 100%. Like after this, like after we stop recording.
Wait. Can you refresh the page? Can you refresh the page, please?
Oh, God. What's going on? This is live recording. What the heck? Okay, so just for the people who you don't know what's going on, this Twitter page just posted an image of a female Rotom Dex.
This is beautiful.
So I assume that maybe if you chose the female character, you get the female Rotom Dex, which I'm glad they cut that.
Yeah,
because that looks stupid. That looks like preschooler levels of like just no.
Dude, this reminds me of like Fairly Odd Parents or something. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Thank goodness. Yeah, thank goodness that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, they gotta keep Rotom gender neutral, man. This is.
And yeah, I mean, just if that doesn't show you that things are continuing to develop about this, and will after we stop recording this, and therefore you need to go look at this for yourself, I don't know what will, because that just like stated my case for me. But with that said, we are basically out of time, so we're gonna cut it there. Thank you all so much for listening. Hybrid, thank you for coming on, my man. It was a super dope conversation.
My pleasure,
I enjoyed it a lot.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely. Check him out in the description. I'll have his YouTube channel linked, so you can go check him out and subscribe. And obviously, as always, you can come back here every Friday for another podcast. I have people on all the time, and we'll have another great show next week. We'll have the Crown Tundra at that point. I will have played it, and we'll be able to have some dope conversations. So with that being said, be sure to check everyone out in the description. Hybrid, sponsors, all that good stuff. And until the next one, as always, have a great weekend. Enjoy playing the Crown Tundra, and I will smell you guys later.